on, rather than breaking all this down and setting it up for the streaming, I decided that we're going to do this while I drink some tea. Which would be a lot better if I actually had prepared something and I had the chat on screen in front of me. Instead, I have it here, right? So yeah, what should we start talking about today? Oh yeah, I have to drink this thing as well, right? Let's not shake it while the lid is open. We all know how that has panned out in the past. But yeah, so it takes a significant amount of time for me to set this up and to break it down again. So I thought, why don't we just do this, where we just use this format while I'm drinking some tea. So if you guys have any questions, go for it. Rant about front-end development again. Do you think the front-end development is it worthy of a rant? It's so surreal. I can't see anything. So what I'm looking at is obviously a camera, but I'm also behind the camera is a like I started writing like a script for a video this morning, and that's what's on screen behind me. So it's really weird. I could have had Twitch chat there instead. So maybe we should do that instead. Just bear with me one sec. Come on. All right, there we go. So now I can actually see what's going on. Can you call in? That would have been fun. That would have been fun to do. But I have not set that up. So if anyone is interested, if I ever do this again, would you guys be interested in having that set up so we can do like a Discord dial-in then? Hello, Kenny. How you going? Having a typo on scale issue is perfect. Yeah. And also we can probably do that. We should probably take that L off, right? Shouldn't we? There you go. Perfect. So what's interesting in the world of skill issue? All right, you know what? Just because it's you guys, why don't we do that? Is it this way or this way? That was funnier in my head. And then the L the wrong way around. Oui. There we go. Okay, so that would increase production value. Would you do that, Bean Juice? Would you call in if I said that we can just take any like input from Discord? So if you wanted to, you could just join in, right? Would you be up for that? Okay, so should we? All right, we put it back. Seeing this seemed to be a source of great confusion, so we put this back. Right, there we go. Okay. Right, so what should we talk about today then, seeing as this is pretty much a free-for-all and I don't have anything planned. I just didn't want to take a break and tear everything down, readjust all the lights and everything. So I figured, why don't we just do this thing, right? What is it about Rust that makes coding fun again? I actually enjoy it, although I'm bad when I go to day work. It's a drag. So this is very much my experience as well, Doddy. I share that sentiment. I think before I programmed Rust, I was programming various other languages, and Rust was I was programming a lot of Python just before I moved to Rust. So that was the language I used just before I moved to Rust, and I found it to be quite tedious. The work I was doing with Python was tedious and boring, and it felt uninspiring and all sorts, right? Rust was sort of an introduction to programming being fun again, right? So it made programming fun. There are more interesting challenges, and you kind of you get to tinker with things without having to worry about the tedium of some programming aspects, right? So, for instance, you get to play around with things like memory. You get to worry and think about the performance of what you're making, unlike what you do with Python. So let's be honest now, right? You're not gonna pick Python because you think that's gonna give you the best performance ever, right? Sure, you should always be concerned about the performance of the software you write to some degree, but if you picked Python, you kind of already thrown that out the door, right? There's nothing wrong with that inherently, right? It's just a choice that people make. But with Rust, you suddenly have that concern again. So you start paying attention to execution time and all these things. With Python, you're interested in execution times to sort of stay sub 1 second, right? As a hand wavy thing to say. But so whatever job you do with Python, either you have to be within some parameter or not, right? Certain jobs can be allowed to take 50 minutes to run, and you're okay with it, right? So it's not really, now you're watching a video, Enrico. It's not really a choice, right? When it comes to performance in Python, right? So Rust kind of gave you the performance, but without the tedium of manual memory management, right? Now, a lot of people have programmed C. I've heard rumors, and they have no concern about this stuff, right? They are happy to do manual memory management. There's nothing wrong with it. If you guys have seen Henry or Hero Dev here on Twitch, he's working on his game without an engine kind of thing, and he has no gripes with doing memory management. He doesn't find it tedious, I'm sure. The same thing with Don, right? Don Ho. Does a lot of C programming on Twitch, and as a result, you're gonna have to deal with manual memory management. But me personally, don't want to do that, right? I don't want that aspect of programming, but I enjoy the benefits, right? So with Rust, I don't know exactly what it was that made it fun again. I do think that it was the challenge. So a lot of the work I was doing in Python, some of it was like solving specific tasks, but a lot of the work that I was doing was very repetitive, right? You got a client wants to give you money. Well, they don't want to give you money, but they give you money and you give them a product in return. And a lot of these products were very similar. It was all very, very same. The work I was doing was just the same every single day. And you know what programmers do when they have to do a repetitive task? They try to automate it. It was even to the degree where a friend of mine, we were trying to write a Python program that would write Python code for us, right? So instead of having to go through this rigmarole with clients over and over and over again. So what do you want? Okay, all right, fine. You want some boring. And every time you meet a client, they're like, oh, wow, maybe these guys want something different. They never do. They never want something different. But with Rust, everything is different, right? Everything is different. The work you do is different if you are lucky enough to find yourself a job. Actually, to be fair, my first job offer with Rust was to do web development, and I turned them down. Sometimes I regret doing that. They were a company based out in Denmark, and a part of me kind of thinks that I could have probably lived in Denmark. I've been there on holiday. I quite enjoyed Denmark. I like the bulov. I like the chocolate licorice thing they have. And, there's not a lot of uphill battles in, in Denmark, right? Because it's very flat. Anyway, so there was that, right? There was that. Let's segue into front-end conversations, though, because I think that this kind of ties in with it, because we're talking about web development a little bit. Right? So what I think is important with this to come back to not ranting about front-end development, but maybe asking some questions about front-end development, right? So as someone who's done this for a very long time, As someone who's done this for a very long time, I started building things with PHP when somewhere around year one, right? So I've seen the evolution. I've seen us go from web development to web development and DBA to web development, DBA, front-end developer, back-end developer, right? When I started, there was no such thing as a full stack developer. That was just called the programmer, right? In singular, because there was one of them, right? So there was one person doing the programming and probably the database too, depending on the budget, right? And that was it. Now, with the advent of things like front-end development, it makes the concept of full stack a little bit ridiculous, because full stack is more like we've gone full circle, right? You're supposed to be like, oh, full stack, you gotta do all these things. We always had to do all things, okay? We always had to do all things. And ironically, or not ironically at all, ridiculously enough, the deployment process of products today takes so much longer than it did in the past. Yes, there's more redundancy in there and so on and so forth, but people understood this. They understood we could have zero downtime deployment with a basic round-robin load balancer, right? It wasn't anything particular about it, right? And when I look at this space every now and then, I get that kind of feeling that some of the things that exist here serve no purpose other than to exist, right? It almost feels like baby's first design pattern, right? You know that junior who started programming and they found out that, oh, the command pattern is amazing, right? Oh, the strategy pattern. And now they want to use that everywhere. And it kind of feels like DevOps or CI/CD at least has sort of fallen into that a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I love GitHub Actions. I think they're great. We deploy the documentation for Anathema through continuous deployment, right? Through the CI pipeline, and it is pretty good stuff. Danaka set that up, by the way, not me. And I like the idea of Docker. I think Docker is really useful. Like we have this like little isolation we can run. You can give this thing to someone else and they can run it and it's all well and good, right? So it's just something to go with, right? But a lot of this stuff is completely nonsensical, right? Do I speak Danish? No, I do not speak Danish. So that brings me back to front-end development, right? I do wonder if front-end development is suffering from a lot of this as well, right? I'm going to choose my words because I don't want to offend anyone, not more than necessary, right? As someone who has done front-end development, right? Actually, I met a guy that I was working with in the project. He was very enthusiastic about programming and he was taking it really seriously, right? So he was the first person I met who actually spent any time and effort even talking about an architecture on the front end, right? Because back then, which is not that long ago, right? But back then there was a lot of sort of repetitive work and, well, that's actually not relevant. That's me trying to read the chat at the same time as I'm talking about this. Yes, you're watching a video. So he took great care of crafting the front end, right? He had his modules organized, the code resembled any old program and that you could imagine and so on and so forth, right? And some of it seemed a little bit unnecessary because a lot of it already existed as jQuery plugins, right? Now, I know that people aren't like, oh, but your jQuery plugin, you know, you're gonna, this was a while ago, right? You're gonna bring in all this unnecessary stuff and what have you, right? But yes, but we can't fault someone for using an existing library when that is now the de facto or operation of anything that we have to do with the front end, right? Because at the same time, you're talking about the running meme is the size of your node module, directory, right? Like your node modules. So we can't sit there and say on one end like, oh look, man, you don't need all these dependencies. You can just write this yourself. And on the other hand, you have a tremendous amount of node modules in there, right? So there is we can't really use that excuse, right, for not using libraries for things that already exist, right? So anyway, I do think that some aspects of front-end development culture seem to be a little bit of not invented here, and also, and here comes the offensive part, okay? Here comes the thing that's going to trigger some people. I think it's also an attempt to make your job seem more important than it is. Okay, right. No, not like that. Not like that. Okay, that is clearly something I said for clout. All right, that is not. I don't actually believe that. Right. I don't think that people need their jobs to seem more important than they are. Right. I do think that we've done a pretty good job at making it important. Right. We used to go from this aspect of front-end development being something that you did to add a little bit of flair to your website, and in the process, this was sort of like a second-class citizen, right? I'm sure some of you remember the time when So for me, when front-end development became a real thing that people cared about, was sort of around 2006, 2007, and that was sort of the advent of jQuery. There was even a book on jQuery, and I think that was like it was a thing, right? People were excited about this. I too was excited about this thing. I remember writing my first jQuery plugin, thinking, "Oh, this is pretty clever, right? We can do all this stuff." And of course, with jQuery came to polyfill. Well, it didn't, but jQuery sort of was part polyfill, right? So you could get a lot of functionality out of the box just by including jQuery, right? So I think jQuery was almost the pinnacle of front-end development. And I think after that, like the next big milestone that came after that was React. We all got a little bit fooled with AngularJS, but that was just Google pulling a fast one. It's like, learn this thing so we can do you over in the next couple of months, right? So yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's about making the job seem more important than it is. No, that was clearly just me trying to rile you up. No other reason. I think it's people getting stuck in the weeds of what's come before and struggle to step back and look at things holistically. So holistically, as in the entire body, right? I have not heard the term holistic programming that frequently, and at one point I thought it was a joke, but apparently that is a term, holistic programming. But nevertheless, I agree with you. I don't think people do it to seem more important than they are, or for the jobs to seem more important than they are. But we have admittedly managed to overcomplicate a lot of things, right? So one of the rules of programming, if you programmed in various different spaces, you'll be familiar with the fact that your architecture, unless you built this program before, your architecture will organically grow out of the software you're building as long as you keep changing it, right? As long as you keep changing it to fit what it is that you're making, right? So you start building, you run into a situation you have not foreseen, so you will backtrack. And you can end up backtracking quite far, and then you restructure everything, and then you continue forward from that point onwards, right? So what's the opposite of holistic? I don't actually know. jQuery is still the pinnacle of front end. Well, I do think, sorry, I stopped dead in my thought there, but let's just move on. I do think the React actually brought quite a lot to the table. There's a lot of people poking fun at JavaScript, and there's a lot of JavaScript developer being very defensive about this stuff, right? But the long and short of this is just programming, right? There really isn't any difference between a front-end developer, a back-end developer, or whatever, right? because it's all just programming. It's all just instructions to a computer. Whether the computer is virtual or not doesn't really matter, right? You're still writing software. So you can be a terrible front-end developer. You can be a terrible back-end developer. You can be a great front-end developer, right? There isn't too much focus on performance and bloat as I would like to see in that world. So I think what it comes down to is so I was visiting the Tamagotchi website the other day. We were talking about Tamagotchis, me and a friend. And as part of that, I said, my kid has Tamagotchi. I bought one for her for Christmas one year. And we couldn't remember what it was, right? Or rather, I couldn't remember what it was, right? My friend had obviously no idea what Tamagotchi my kid has. So we went onto the website to have a look to see if I could find this thing because I wanted to describe how terrible the buttons were, right? There was they look like buttons, but they're actually like touch, whatever. They're not tactile. They're just terrible, right? But anyway. So what happened is we go onto this website and I noticed that the images are loading really slow. So you got these tiny images laid out. So on a hunch, I right click and select open image in new tab, and it opens an image that's about 4 times as big, right? And that level of lazy is something that I don't tolerate from programming, okay? That level of I don't care attitude, especially on larger websites, all right? What does this mean? Think about the amount of CPU cycles that we're actually wasting, all right? People are talking about being environmentally friendly, but cut down on adverts, okay? Cut down on tracking data. You're saving a lot of energy doing that, right? Don't load up insanely large images because you're not gonna use that resolution anyway, especially if you shrink the image. It doesn't make any sense, right? There's a lot of nonsensical things that are happening and a lot of disregard for performance, right? So imagine how many people are loading google.com every day. And imagine that you add an extra 100 kilobytes to that website, to that payload, right? Even if you're going to cache it and blah, 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 that's also an argument that I don't particularly find valid when it comes to these things, right? Now, this is very easy for me to sit here and say because I don't deal with this world anymore. I'm quite happy to not deal with this world anymore, right? Because there is so much idiocracy happening in there, right? That's the name of a movie, by the way. It's not a thing, but let's go with it. It's straight up foolishness, right? The way some of the things are being done. And if you imagine then that you're loading 100 kilobytes for every single person who's using Google, that's going to be probably gigabytes on a daily basis, right? Like a lot. And that's kind of irresponsible. Now, I don't know if Google is doing this in particular, right? That was just an example. Like take any well-known website, and the more nonsense you add, everything should be weighed accordingly, right? What's the benefit of making this, of creating this cost, right? What's the benefit of creating this cost? I kind of wish that this thing wouldn't go into sleep mode every 5 seconds, but here we go. Let's load this up again, right? So you end up with this unnecessary waste of bandwidth, of CPU cycles are being wasted, memory is being wasted. There's a lot of things that's constantly being wasted, right? That does not exist, bean juice. So no, I don't know, right? I think we shouldn't make fun of front end. We shouldn't make fun of anyone really, but we should also not accept and tolerate bad software, right? So if you have complete disregard for the end user when you're writing your software, then I think you are doing a bad job, right? You're doing a bad job. If you don't consider the size of the payload that you're sending down the wire, then you're doing a bad job. If you don't look at the performance even once while you're building your front end or back end for that matter as well, right? It's not like the back end is absolved of this sin, right? Backend is more suffering from bad queries, and I'd be the first one to admit that I have used and I will keep using ORMs because I think it's pretty good, right? Learning Rust in 20 seconds is probably an impossibility. I do find it quite interesting. On more than one occasion, people have mentioned, they sort of popped into my chat and then they've shared their journey into programming, and they say things like, I know 20 programming languages. And then I said, okay, so you spent about this much time. So I did the math. Okay, so you're about 70 years old then. And he goes, no, I'm 16, right? And it's not the first person to do that. I think there's a little bit of a delusion going on with certain young programmers, right? Where people claim to know something and then they really have no idea. But their definition of knowing something is having the ability to somehow look it up. But I think we have to take it further than that, right? It's not just about having the ability to look something up. You also have to understand what it is that you're consuming, right? So if you look up how to do something in a programming language, if you cannot understand that, and if you cannot repeat that, other than through copy and paste, then I don't think you should say to people that you understand the programming language. However, of course, far be it for me to say what people can and can't do, right? Now, if you identify as a polyglot because you have mastered Stack Overflow search, then by all means, I'm not gonna rain on your parade, okay? But I do find it a little bit amusing with people who are that, right? Once you learn a C-style language, you know 73 languages. You know maybe the notion of 73 languages rather poorly. I don't think that it's quite fair to say. You feel called out. No, I'm not calling out anyone in particular. I've almost finished my tea, so I would like you guys to tell me how you enjoyed this format. Should we continue with this some other time in the future, or should we never do this again and this has scarred you for life? Anyone have any interesting questions before we tear everything down again? Sounds good, Laurie. The barrier for knowing is writing hello world. That makes it incredibly easy for people to learn Rust. I understand now. I have clearly failed that one. Does not have pants on. Well, there you go. You saw my leg. That'll be one sub, please. You're cooking a new question? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna stay here until Rebel has asked his question. I never know when it comes to Rebel's questions. They can be really interesting and really profound, or they can be insanely bananas, is the only way I can qualify them. So it's always a little bit of a rolling the dice here, right? But we're gonna gamble and see where Rebel's taking us. Where is that massive shadow coming from? Probably the chair. It was the chair. The number of times I forget to move that chair when I record, it's pretty, it's pretty frequent. I have to retake many times because I forget to do that, right? So the setup is pretty convenient for me. This chair is terrible to sit on, but it is a chair nonetheless. And the camera is right in front of a screen, which is showing me the chat right now. So I can read chat a little bit. It's obscured by the camera, but I also have it here. So that's something, right? Officially have the tea time with toggle segment from now on. Okay. All right. I can do that. Get a knee chair. I don't think they're particularly comfortable. I tried one once. But I think they were a little bit lacking when it comes to comfort. I also have no idea how the synchronization with the audio is set up because it's set up for my other camera, which is right over there. So we'll see how this goes. Could place like put a chat overlay here somewhere, right here. That could work. Use W Riz from Ohio. Okay. Sound is fine, thank you. I was more thinking in terms of the audio latency. Just the topic. Okay, so we should have a topic up here somewhere. Is that what you're saying? Sorry, I need to talk into the microphone, not away from the microphone, right? I don't generally tell people that their ideas are stupid. That does little to help anyone become better. I think as slightly older programmers, we have the responsibility of making programming interesting and good for young people. So yelling at people for not understanding something is entirely counterproductive. Like an overlay, we can do that. The topic should fly around the screen. Okay, so we'd have the topic in there. Gotcha. Well, I mean, as long as the topic isn't a big one, then sure. What do you think about the interview process in tech companies around lead code, etc., to determine skill level? As someone who's done a lot of interviews, okay, Rebel, all right, I'm going to come back to this one, Rebel. Just going to blast through this a little bit. As someone who's done interviews for tech companies, first of all, I'm skeptical towards people who have strong opinions about interview process who has never designed or done interviews, right? Doing an interview is difficult. I personally think that lead code is entirely meaningless for the kind of interviews I have done, where my job has been to assess the technical proficiency of a person, and more importantly, or just as importantly rather, are they going to be a good fit for the team or not? Because this thing cannot be understated, right? This thing could be very understated. This thing cannot be stressed enough, right? Being a good fit for the team is just as important as your technical skill, right? Having tremendous technical skill, but very poor skills interacting with the team, that is not going to put you at an advantage, right? As a matter of fact, if you know that you're someone who has really good technical skills, then maybe you should work on your team cohesion skills instead when it comes to it, if that is in fact a bottleneck for you, right? I think it's very important that interviews are also quite relaxed. It's very easy to sit there and judge someone, but we have to be a little bit... we have to show some empathy for the person we're interviewing, right? This is a person who is not in charge of what is happening to them. They're part of a process being led by you or someone else, right? Who's sitting there asking them questions, and it's very easy to feel like you're being put on a spot. And being nervous, it's probably happened to more people than none, that you completely forget what you know. And then after the interview, you go, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. What an idiot. But as someone who interviews people, I understand this. I understand that you might have, you might be very nervous, you whatever it is, right? So the first job in an interview process should be to make someone feel comfortable and relaxed. When you're relaxed and you're almost like at a personal level, going, how you doing, right? How's everything? You know, how's the cows, whatever it is that you're talking about, right? It becomes a very relaxed situation. That's really good. But back to the comment about lead code and such. I think lead code is entirely idiotic to be part of an interview process. However, I also understand it, because when I did, sometimes I had like 4 or 5 interviews back to back. It's tiresome. Some people I've interviewed, it was just painful. You start the conversation and you'd be like, hi, how you doing? Okay, how long have you been interested in Rust? And 2 minutes in, you realize that they haven't even made it past the first chapter of the book, right? So something I would qualify as blockchain Rust developers, right? There seem to be a breed of programmers out there who are... There seem to be a breed of programmers, Rust programmers out there who spent their entire career in the blockchain space. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that they are bad programmers, right? But it means that their knowledge is very domain specific, and it might not have anything to do. It might not have anything to do with what you're basically. They might have had very little low-level interaction with the software writing, right? So you might have worked in the blockchain space, and you might have done something specific on a virtual machine, for instance, and you know a little bit about something, but you really don't have an in-depth experience of Rust, the programming language, right? So For instance, if I need to recruit someone to work on a team where we're supposed to solve a problem and we can divide this problem across multiple threads. So we need to have an understanding of multi-threading to be able to maximize the CPU usage here, right? So we have dedicated computers running these programs to solve these problems, and we're going to make use of threading. Otherwise, the CPU would just sit there and be dormant for 31 of the 32 cores, hypothetically, right? So the interview process, we start talking about multi-threaded Rust. Do you know anything about multi-threaded Rust? Okay, and it may or may not know, right? And it may or may not be relevant, right? But some really basic fundamentals. I have on more than one occasion had people try to explain mutability to me when I have specifically asked for interior mutability. Now, there's another caveat to that. You might not know the terminology, and I am very forgiving when it comes to terminology. If you don't know something, if you don't know what something is called, that doesn't mean that you don't understand it, right? You might understand exactly what it is and what it does, but you just don't have a name for it, right? So sometimes you have to ask probing questions to get into that space. It's kind of, okay, like you don't know what a box is. Can you tell me how to allocate an integer onto the heap, right? And they'll be, oh, you just do this thing. I say, okay, well, fine. You do know what a box is. You just didn't know about the terminology, right? Okay, let's have a look. Here's a question. Many programmers have strong opinions about typing speed and use of various keyboards, but I digress. To me, I need to write fast. Wait, am I missing part of the question here? Okay. Many programs have strong opinions about typing speed and use of various keyboards, but I digress. To me, the need to write fast often only shows that you are sitting in a relatively easy to write code base, which is probably a very good code base then. And hardcore programming is not about cooking code fast, but solve really, really hard problems. Actually, they don't operate in isolation. So typing fast is good, but it won't help you when creating something profound. So there is, that's actually the question to give opinion. In other words, does the need to type fast? No. So typing speed is not relevant in programming at all, not one bit. As long as the typing speed isn't detrimental to you, as in typing becomes... The keyboard you use is so different from what you're used to that it becomes a cognitive load, right? As in, the keyboard usage is getting in the way of your thought process. That is not good, right? And that is going to be the case for anyone swapping from QWERTY to Dvorak or Colmac or Workman or whatever, or going from your average keyboard to a split keyboard. There is definitely going to be a cognitive load there, right? So I think having typing speed as a concern is probably not a valid concern. Take into consideration as well that a lot of things you're typing is going to be symbols that are not generally part of the English language, right? Curly brackets, square brackets. These are things you type a lot of in a lot of programming languages, but you have very little use of this thing when it comes to the actual... programming, the actual like writing an essay, right, or writing a blog post. It's not relevant to be quick at typing out these symbols, right? But they are more relevant when it comes to programming. So they're gonna slow you down as well, most likely, because we type a lot more words in general than we type these symbols. But the symbols are very, very important, right? So being a fast typer is not relevant. I would say the only relevancy there is to typing is that your brain doesn't split its attention between the keyboard and the code you want to write or the problem you're trying to solve. Now, generally, we solve the problem before we type it out to some degree. Sometimes we have this half-baked idea and we sort of just start typing while we're thinking, and I do this more often than not, right? I start thinking like, okay, what about this thing? And I just start banging out some code and like, okay, no, that doesn't work. And then you backtrack and all that. But in reality, typing speed has no value whatsoever when it comes to programming, as long as it doesn't get in your way, right? Okay. I would only last 2 minutes in an interview with me. I don't think that's true, Bean Juice. I think there have been interviews that I have cut short, and it is painful to do so. Where you say, I'm sorry, I have to stop you there. We are looking for someone with a little bit more senior experience than that. But I appreciate that you're coming in, and thank you so much for your time, right? It's unpleasant to say that to someone, but at the same time, you don't really want to keep someone on the line for half an hour if you decided they're not going to be a good fit within 10 minutes, right? And some people you do know straight away, that they are not going to be a good fit because they lack basic understanding of the language that you're hiring for. Now, there's a distinction between a senior developer and a junior developer, of course, right? Or let's say a junior developer and all other grades of developers, right? If you're hiring a junior developer, I think it's very important to look at enthusiasm, right? It's not important that you as a junior developer have 6,000 GitHub repositories full of lead code or half-baked ideas or whatever, right? It speaks to your enthusiasm, but maybe you never bother with GitHub, right? And you like the old copy and paste into version 1, 2, 3 and so on and so forth, right? I mean, that is probably something that you should address quickly if you do, but that doesn't necessarily make you a bad program. It makes you bad at organizing your projects, and it makes you bad at using version control, right? But it doesn't make you a bad programmer. Using version control and being a programmer are two completely different things, right? Would you cut me early? I don't know, Privan. I don't know what your Rust code is like. You just need to get to the point where you can type what you think as you think it, but going beyond that is still better. Although that admittedly would imply a reasonably high typing speed, because you think and you... All right, thanks, D. Wow, is it over a year old? Cool, thank you for that. Experience versus social skills. Experience is not everything. Experience is not everything. And if we go back to the term or to talking about junior programmers, right? There is the the notion of enthusiasm, right? Your level of enthusiasm is going to be one of your most important qualities as a junior programmer getting your first job, right? Because the people hiring you, they're making an investment, right? They're not hiring you because you are going to earn less than the senior developers, right? That's not a benefit for them, right? I mean, the salary itself is, but you are going to cost the company in time, and you're going to cost other developers time. But the goal is to train you up within the domain so you get domain knowledge and programming knowledge, and hopefully you stay long enough for it to pay off, right? Now, this is a real concern for employers, right? I'll hire a junior person, I train them up, and then they leave because this happens, right? The goal for the company is to get as much value out of the junior as possible before they leave, right? Because especially in IT, people don't tend to stick around for too long, right? They don't tend to stick. It's not uncommon to be permanently employed at a company for 1 to 2 years and then move on. It's quite common, right? You look at people's CVs and they're like 2 years here, 1 year there, 6 months there, 2 years there, right? It happens. It's not uncommon at all. I worked with senior devs who have worse skills than junior, but they have worked for 20 years. Well, remember that senior is just a title, right? And things change. And sometimes people don't want to keep up with the change. This junior has the spark that has been beaten out of me over the years. Let's hire him and watch the spark extinguish. Well, there is a truth to that. But I have to say, the more senior people get, the more cynical and caught up in their own imaginary limitations they do, right? So you might have been... thank you so much, Teasing. You might have been in this seat yourself, where you have decided to not do a project because you look at the limitations, and sometimes you don't even have these limitations, they're imaginary, and you decide not to do something because of these self-imposed limitations. If someone asked me today if I want to build a user interface library from scratch, I would have accidentally push them down the stairs, right? There's no way I would do that, and I would say absolutely not, right? on account of how much work it is, but also because of the limitations that I have imposed upon myself when it comes to building something like this, right? Is the following trend true in your opinion? Companies are looking for either senior devs or junior devs. Mid devs are left out for some reason. I honestly don't know. And you know what I like? The anathema PTSD is very real. One thing that I think it's really difficult to talk about this because we talk about it, we use terms like the industry, but what is the industry? There are software companies, tech companies spread out all across the globe with very different hiring practices, very different work ethics. There is so much. There is so much in there that it's really difficult to say what is the industry. Are we talking about Silicon Valley? Are we talking about some small village in Andorra, right? That is really difficult to say what's what, right? What is the industry? Indeed. Horse, elephant, titan, imaginary post. Well, the older you get not like age-wise, but the more senior you get, the more of your limitations that you're gonna impose on yourself, right? Maybe you choose to not do something because you think it's gonna be too hard. Okay, let's put it like that instead, right? There are people who are completely delusional, right? And I am one of them, right? I am 100% delusional. Because without this delusion, I wouldn't be able to start any of the projects I have started. I would immediately say, I am not qualified to build this, and then I would have done something else, right? And even if that would be the truth, that I am not qualified to build what I'm building, that might be the case. But even if that is the case, there are a number of people that build things and successfully build things that they would never even have attempted if they had those limitations, right? If I say to you, do you want to meet up at the closest pub and then we're going to walk across the globe? You'd say, no, obviously not. We can't do that. There's a ridiculous endeavor. And it is. But is it impossible? Absolutely not. We could totally do it, right? We could do it. I don't think we should do it. We're not going to do it. But having that delusion that, yeah, of course I can do it. Because you have to have some modicum of delusion if you wake up one day and say, I'm fit to be the leader of the free world, or I could build a web browser from scratch, or I'm gonna build the next most popular operating system out there and I'm gonna make it free and open source and everyone's gonna use it and somehow Nvidia's gonna write drivers for this thing, right? We need that delusion. Even if 9 out of 10 things fall by the roadside, it's that 10th thing that actually managed to see daylight is worth it, right? I jokingly say that we all have these graveyards of side quests littering our GitHubs, but not all of them become another tombstone. Some of them actually become a project, right? That drink is not too rank today. Like being paid to rush in some stages or choose for the shortest path. They in the industry or commercial-driven projects may say you would implement or gapify things aren't under your control. Perfectly agree. I have to carry you after 5K. Well, not if you have to carry me first. Yes, it is live. That's not delusional. That's autistic. I don't think so. I think that it is a small self-delusion that is good to have, right? Yes, exactly. Thank you. Exactly this. But I think even if you dare to dream big and you approach this thing, even if you don't make it all the way there, you might inadvertently fulfill a part of your dream. And it might become something smaller, but something solid, something tangible that you can use, right? So you set out to build a web browser from scratch. It's a completely bananas idea, given the fact that a web browser is probably about as complex as an operating system these days, right? So you set out to build this thing, and in the process of doing this thing, you end up writing a really fast implementation of an SVG rendering library, right? Hypothetically, right? And even if you never finish the browser, you still have that library. Something came out of it. Or maybe you do build the browser and you actually make a big impact on the world, right? We have to have this. We have to be allowed to dream. I joke when I say delusion. It's not really delusion. It's more about allowing yourself to dream. So yes, I think me and a friend, again, here I go flexing with having friends, right? We worked together at a place and we had a Slack channel called The Square Wheel because it was about reinventing the wheel, right? Where we would just throw ideas around. At one point, we were talking about building a search engine. And can you imagine that if you wake up tomorrow and you go, I'm going to build a search engine, I'm going to build a commercial search engine. The first thing that one would normally do when building a commercial project is find out what the market looks like by doing some market research. And immediately you come across one of the world's largest companies, and this is now your competitor. Hello, Emil. This is now your competitor. You are going to compete with Google. So you're sitting there in your underpants, in the sofa, with a cup of tea, thinking about how you're going to take on Google for a market share of search, right? Now, that seems ridiculous, but we have companies out there competing with Google, right? There is the, what's that search engine with a K? Really awful name. I can't remember. There's DuckDuckGo, which I think is pretty good. It's one I'm using. There is Kage is the one I'm thinking about. There you go. Right. Kage is a paid for search engine. If you would asked people if you could travel back in time, assuming you don't do something stupid and become your own grandpa, and you could ask people, maybe don't travel that far back, and you can ask people, what's the would you pay for a search engine, right? And this is somewhere around, let's say 2008, 2009, right? So DuckDuckGo is not a thing. Yahoo is still cosplaying as a search engine, maybe. And what's the alternative? I don't even remember, right? And then someone asks you, so would you pay for a search engine? Most people say, no, absolutely not, right? Absolutely not. But here they are. They made a search engine. They charge for it. And there is something refreshing about being upfront with the costs, right? There's something very nice about that. It's like having that childhood looking, loving what you do, I believe, and how you said we can work it out to avoid being full utopic. Yeah, no, it's all good. Your English is better than my Portuguese, though, he said. Don't worry about it. Does DuckDuckGo not share the same PageRank algorithm with Google? I don't know. What decade you like to experience for a few weeks? That's a good question, Rebel. See, I like that question because it's a question of dreamers, right? It's a question. I bet a lot of you have thought about time travel, right? So the moment you start talking about time travel with other nerds, you get into the conversation about paradox, right? Oh, there's a paradox. How can this be? If we look at movies like Back to the Future and he's standing on stage playing the guitar and for some reason he's got a photograph of his siblings and they start to fade out and you kind of go, that doesn't make any sense. If they had completely different lives, the kids probably wouldn't exist in the first place. Not just fade out, and subsequently you wouldn't exist, you couldn't have traveled back in time, blah, blah, paradox, blah. There is a movie called Predestination, which is not too bad when it comes to time traveling paradox. I actually enjoyed that movie quite a bit. But that aside, if you could have paradox-free time traveling, what would you do, right? So obviously, if we could travel back in time to year one, we would probably die instantly from some germs, right? Our body, our immune system aren't capable of dealing with that. So we just have, hi, I'm here, I'm from the future, and then you die, right? Because, you accidentally touched the pine tree or whatever, right? So, but if we take that away, if we remove reality from the conversation, because we're already on the topic of time travel, right? Where would you go, right? I think it would be pretty fun to travel back in time to areas of nostalgia, right? And if we're talking about this as in you could travel back in time on a separate timeline, which would cease to exist when you return. So you are nothing but a tourist in time. So it doesn't make sense for you to travel back in time and invest a lot of money in asbestos, right? Because you think that's a good idea, right? It doesn't make any sense because once you return to your time, it's more like you were allowed to dream consciously about time travel. If we did that, then I think it would be a fun challenge. You know what? One of the moments I would have liked to experience would be to go back in time and purchase a new copy of The Legend of Zelda for the 8-bit Nintendo. I think being in a store, seeing these stacked on the shelves, buying them, opening them, and looking at the golden cartridge, that would be quite nice, right? That would be quite nice. It would be fun if we could be tourists in time, in separate timelines with no causality to concern ourselves with or anything of the sort, right? Maybe we could even travel back in time, meet our younger self, and then just beat the shit out of ourselves for all the dumb things we're about to do the next day, right? That would also be cathartic. What is that in front of your ears? Oh, so I have headphones on. Hang on. All right, it's complaining about the battery. I'm wearing headphones, and so I can listen to music. I don't hear the music you guys are hearing. Instead, I have my own music that I'm listening to. What am I listening to today? We have what is this thing? Can we see the whole playlist there? There we go. Distortion Sleep is what I'm listening to. But I don't actually have the music going right now, though, right? Cathartic and traumatizing, but it's free from any effect, right? Because it's a separate, isolated, virtual timeline, if you will, then, right? Isn't that the premise of Legend of Battle Labs, where they underwent the most amazing innovation with stuff like, we have lost our communication infrastructure due to an attack, we need to reinvent everything from the ground up? I have no idea. A lot of people do pretty surface level discussion of time travel, as in, if I went back, I'd do X, but what if you went back and lived a whole life, experienced different things and all sorts? So the thing is, I don't want to be anywhere other than now. If I could go back and live a whole life, the things that I have experienced wouldn't be possible. And how far back do you go, right? And do you yourself get to sort of start out from scratch, living your life? Because if we travel too far back in time, again, you scratch yourself on a rusty nail, and then you got lockjaw, or you die from gangrene 2 days later, or someone accuse you of being a witch and set fire to you, depending on where you travel, right? I don't even know where we would travel. Or do we go so far back that we're sort of dealing with a time before language was invented? It's very complicated, because I am happy with the modern amenities that we have, right? For instance, if I were to travel back to, say, the 50s, and I am 15 years old in 1965, and I have to go to the dentist, where the solution to your problem is to like fill your teeth with mercury, okay? It's not quite that bad, but there's an amalgamation of things, including mercury, that are used to fill teeth with, right? And some of this stuff leaks into your bloodstream and affects your head, right? Like a Mad Hatter, as it were, right? Which is a term that comes from because the hatters used to use mercury when making the hat. Containerized, yes, the Docker of timelines, right? I have to go to work. Oh, well, thanks for hanging out. Thanks. Thank you for that, TZ. My English oral comprehension is terrible. I'm listening from 1 hour, and even I'm lost sometimes. That is okay. I can try to be a little bit more clear, but I am not overly conscious of my own speech, so I have no idea when I speed up again, if I slow down a little bit now, right? Knowledge is what I would seek, but then time traveling forward would be more interesting. I think it would be absolutely terrifying Imagine that you could decide how far ahead you would travel, 5, 10, or 20 years. What would you do? Imagine if you travel 5 years forward in time and you're not there. Now you can go back home to your time and have existential crisis for the rest of your days. We're not meant to know our own end. Stop the Terminator, but it was so nice in the end, right? It was so nice in the second one. You could live a few years in one period, travel to a new one and do the same. Then I guess things would also lose meaning, right? If we did that. Good morning, Scott. How your knowledge of future affects future. Well, this is why we need to have a virtual timeline for this to work, this hypothetical, right? Because otherwise, everything we do would change the world, right? The butterfly effect and all that, what, right? So you end up going down a road, turning left instead of right, and thus ceasing your own existence by the very fact, right? It's impossible to know, right? But no, I think time traveling is more an exercise in hunting for paradoxes, right? When podcasts again, I have to get into the sort of mental space of being able to be coherent when acting is coherent, right? It's a very difficult line to balance. So, for instance, I've been awake now for 7 hours. I've had breakfast and lunch already, and I have worked on things. I've done some video recording, which is why we have this setup. I also been to the Flexatorium and done various things, and also spent 5 minutes parenting my child. So it is really, so I'm going to be very tired in a few hours. So by the time Acton wakes up and is ready to record, I'm usually at the sort of the end of my energy levels. Like they're kind of just dipping there, right? I tried to cheat by drinking caffeine and things like that, and it doesn't always work though, right? You're a C++ developer and you're fascinated by Rust. Interesting. I'm nowhere near being above average C++, and I was thinking, what if I learn a new language? Would you suggest keep on going with C++ or swap to a new language? So that's a difficult one. You're not going to enjoy this answer because the answer comes in the form of a question. What is it that you want out of your programming life, Wissant? What do you want from programming, right? Do you want to become really good at something special? Do you want to build something special? What is your desire from your career? The most funniest person on earth, period. Well, I have been meaning to dial you in, Prevan. And if we do this format again, I will set up Discord so we can get people in to ask questions and chat with us. Absolutely, right. So I think when it comes to changing programming languages and all that, right? I have referred to myself as a mediocre programmer, right? Half jokingly, okay? I don't qualify myself to be in the forefront of programming where people who are creating real innovation is like Linus, not the tech tips guy, right? And I don't know. I mean, Bill was pretty young and pretty impressive when he wrote DOS, right? And so on and so forth. Right, we're on a first name basis with these people. There are people who have done some pretty revolutionary things out there who are pretty decent programmers. So I don't put myself in the same camp as these people, but I also don't qualify myself as a complete and utter beginner, right? Let's get back to the question. I wanted to get really good at game development, specifically game engine development, but I'm really enjoying building low-level stuff like WebSockets. I'm currently building my own hash map in C++. I guess my question is, I've been using C++ for more than a year now. Should I just drop all that I've learned so far and switch to Rust? Absolutely not, because we cannot eject knowledge out of our brains, and also we don't have limited space. So the thing is, Wissant, what you want to achieve is achievable using both of these languages. If you drop C++ and you go to Rust, you're gonna find that there is so many things that becomes easier, right? Multi-threading is easier. There are bindings for various graphics libraries, and there's WGPU, which is pretty nice, allegedly. I still haven't understood it. And there's like a lot of benefits if you do that drop, right? And you don't have to deal with the memory and so on and so forth. But then there's all the drawbacks. So when you get to that point, you're like, wow, all this stuff just works. That's amazing. But then you're going to start missing all the things you can do in C++, right? Why does Rust make me go through all these hoops? I know this pointer is valid. Why do I have to do this? Why is it like this? It feels like the language is now getting in my way. It didn't used to be like this. With C++, the language never got in my way, right? I had my double barrel pointed at my feet at all times, but I could do whatever I wanted to do, right? So really, if you were to move on to Rust, I would say you could benefit from doing Rust programming because the Rust that you learn will inadvertently affect how you write C++, hopefully in a positive way. But it's not going to be a magical solution to your problems. In reality, you still have the same problem. The problem of building the game engine. There are benefits to both of these languages. So I would say, if you want to try Rust, then by all means explore Rust. But is the desire to move away from Rust, is the desire to maybe try Rust because you're stuck on something that is difficult right now in your life as a C++ developer? Because this is quite common for us to do as programmers. We work on something, we get stuck, so we start working on something else, and we get stuck, so we start working on something else. And now we have 3 projects that are all stuck on really difficult problems, right? If that is the case, then I would suggest that before you decide to move on, get your project to a point where you are not stuck anymore, if this is in fact the point, right? I think there's a lot of unnecessary stress in the world of programming as well. We seem to think that we have, well, I mean, obviously we have a limited amount of time. We have a limited amount of time on this earth, okay? So you're not going to learn every language there is out there. In the same way, you're not going to read every book that is ever written. You're not going to hear every song that is written. You're not going to watch every movie that is ever made. So it's really down to how you spend your time, right? But think about this. A lot of the algorithms and stuff that we use in programming today are from the 50s and 60s, right? So when we talk about game development, right? I can't look this up right now and I don't know the answer, but I'm reasonably confident that A-star pathfinding, which is still very commonly used in game programming, was not invented this decade or even this millennia, right? We are using things that are, so what I'm saying is that even though new technology pops up, the underlying foundation is still going to be the same. So it's not really like you're not in a rush to learn something because it's going to move on to the next thing. And if you don't learn this today, you're never going to have a chance to learn it and so on and so forth, right? I think we put unnecessary stress on ourselves, right? I guess my main concern is that I don't want to end up doing stuff like I kind of know this language, let's jump this other language. I personally feel like maybe I'll get very good at C++ and then swap. Your first programming language is rarely going to be your last programming language, right? My first programming language was BASIC, so that's a reason why that's not my main driver. I learned Pascal as well. I could probably not program myself out of a bag using Pascal today, right? I barely remember it. So I think it's very stay the course maybe, right? Feel free to dabble in Rust, but just make sure that you learn the fundamentals, right? And hopping between programming languages is, I would say that's symptomatic of something else, right? The reason you're jumping between programming, people who do, they might be looking for something and they're never going to find it in a language, right? Because everything is a trade-off. So you get really excited about Rust. So you start learning Rust and then you'll be like, wow, with this thing I can build whatever, right? And then you get stuck and then you go over to Zig. and be like, oh wow, Stig is amazing. I can do all these things that I can't do in Rust. Comp times got my back. It's all amazing. Look how simple this language is. Fantastic. And then another language comes out, and then when you're stuck somewhere in Sig, you go to the next language, and it's like this kind of perpetual seller tree that drives us forward. But programming languages are just tools, right? We like them, we choose them, and our choice in programming language is 99% emotional, despite what people try to tell you. Oh, you got to choose the right tool for the job. No, you're not. You're going to choose the language you enjoy working with, or you're going to choose the language that you're being paid to write, right? So question here, what would convince you that AI has serious potential to make programming profession mean not writing code anymore? Would you be disappointed by such a course of events? No, absolutely not. I want AI to be something that is available to everyone. And this is very important, okay? We cannot create a big gap that it is right now in the population of the world, where we say, all right, all you programmers over there, you can't afford this tooling, so you're going to fall behind and you're going to depend on us, and we already have all the money. So you can sort of see what problem will come out of that. We don't need that. That is not good for mankind. Instead, what we really need is for all this tooling to be free and publicly available to everyone, right? It's like a programming language that is paid for, right? Imagine a paid for compiler in 2024. Would you have any interest in that language? Probably not, right? Someone goes, oh, here's this amazing language. Look at these problems that it solves. And you're like, I don't really care about that, but the syntax looks like fun. Should we do it? Should we try it? And be like, okay, now you just have to give me $100 for a license to the compiler. And you're going to go, no, I don't think so. I mean, there's so many other languages to choose from, and they're being developed in the open by people who are not savage and assholes. So maybe not, right? I think the whole AI thing should follow suit, right? It should be open and it should be available to everyone. And I think the tooling can contain AI. I use AI sometimes myself, like duck.ai. Very simple, very rudimentary LLM. And I use this thing to find things sometimes, right? So as part of an upcoming video that I'm recording, I wrote some software for a project I've never written software for before. And the project is very large. I'm trying not to give anything away now. And to make this change, it was a tremendous amount of code. So I use ChatGPT and asked where, if I wanted to make these changes to this project, where would I find it? And it gave me, as per usual, incorrect information, but it gave me enough information to know where to start. I could discern from the output that there should be something that looks like X and it should be doable over with Y. And that led me to solving the problem, right? So I think the whole AI is going to take over our jobs is a misunderstanding. No one who's actually good at programming believes this, right? Because everyone knows that you have to verify the code. It's like robotics, right? We have robots doing dangerous work for humans, right? In factories and what have you. But we still need to have humans as part of the equation. And no, I don't think that we're going to replace a team of programmers with one dude and ChatGPT, right? But that conversation has been had so many times that we're just going to move on from there. Okay, let's see. Follow-up question is, where do I start? This would be my first language outside of university. I really don't know what resource to use. It depends on what you want to do, right? So if you want to learn Rust, feel free to join the Discord. Just type bang Discord or exclamation point Discord in the chat. It will give you a link. Join the Discord. I'm happy to chat with you one-on-one if you want to talk about Rust or whatever, right? Can do that as well. There is... and there's lots of really good people out there in the community who knows Rust. If we're talking about that specifically, there are people who program other languages, but I'm going to have very little input on someone's C++ journey because simply I don't know C++, right? I have written very little C++, and the amount of C++ I've wrote was probably down to about 100, 200 lines, and I had undefined behavior in there that I didn't even spot, right? So yes. But if you want to learn Rust without knowing how you like to learn, I would start with the book. The book is an amazing resource. It's free. It's available to read online. Just type !book in the chat and you get a link directly to the book. There are plenty of video series if you want to go that route as well, but I have little knowledge around that because I am more a book nerd than a video nerd, right? When it comes down to it. Have you seen the MBKHD app? No idea what that is. I think Rust is a tremendously good language. It's really fun to program, right? It has, it just ticks all the boxes for me, right? Just be very patient with the find out in the next chapter. Yeah, I honestly don't know. So that's true about generics and lifetimes, and I don't think that you could have written the book in any other way. This does not help the conception that Rust is a cult, as can be seen in the various talks, right? MBKHD is a YouTuber, really big. He released an app selling wallpapers. The problem is that everything is happening in the app, including payment, and the images are public available in a bucket. I guess if you use an app like that, I don't know who this is, Privan, so I'm a little bit uncomfortable talking about someone I don't know. But what you describe from the app, it would seem like that's more of a way to support the content creator more than anything. But I don't know if that's the case or not, right? I learn better if the book has exercises. I have to solve. In that case, Whitson, there's something called Rustlings that you can do in parallel. It's a series of exercises that are allegedly quite good. When I started learning Rust, the Rust web, this is the intro to my video that I just recorded. It goes like this. When I started learning Rust many years ago, as a matter of fact, when I started, the website looked like this, and the book kicked us off with the dining philosopher problem, and I had never heard of Rustlings. But one day, when we were talking in chat, so that's the intro to the video that I've just been recording here, right? And then I stumbled on my own intro, right? So the thing is, if you can download the images for free, that doesn't mean that the images are free though. So if you are a photographer, for instance, right, and you take a bunch of pictures and you upload them to your website so people can see them, that does not give them the right to use your pictures. They don't have the license rights to use those pictures. So to download the images and use them is technically probably not something you have the right to do, right? And of course, that can get into the conversation with, yeah, but who's going to do something about it? I mean, you could probably walk into the supermarket right now, grab a loaf of bread and a milk and just walk right out, okay? I mean, I'm not going to stop you from doing that, most likely because you don't live where I live, but you can do that, okay? Doesn't mean that you should do that. You can download all the images, but that doesn't mean that you should do that, right? Now, I don't know anything about this person. I don't know if each image is some kind of artisanal creation. I know how much time I spent developing photographs in the past, right? And for someone to use any of my pictures without me either licensing the picture or giving them the rights to do so, that would be really offensive to me. I would find that a complete disregard for my creation, right? I spent the time and energy creating this thing, and people would just use it without any concern, right? And that happens all the time to photographers, of course, right? In this case, people use it on your phone. Yeah, but it's no difference, right? It's no difference using a photographer's image as a background to your website or a background to your phone. You took something from someone and you didn't care enough to, you liked the work, but you didn't care enough about the photographer, right? I mean, some things are like you can use these images for personal use. If you guys ever came across any of my photography and you used it as a wallpaper, first of all, that would be super weird because I do portrait photography. Or did. I haven't really taken these cameras out of here for a long time. I wonder if I can change my angle. You know what? I'm not going to bother with it. I realized that I have two cameras here, right? So I could, in theory, swap them around. But no, I would have to reach the keyboard to swap to another camera angle. But anyway, it's been a very long time since I actually did that, right? Since I took any pictures. But yeah, they're portrait photography of people, spouses, children, whatever, right? So it's very unlikely that anyone's gonna use them as a background picture other than the parents, right? And those kind of pictures are obviously, there's no licensing to that. I've taken a few pictures that aren't of people, but no one's going to use those for anything either. Turns out I wasn't a very good landscape photographer. All right, we're almost done with this. How long have we been doing this for now? I've been sitting for 1 hour on the world's worst chair, all right? Absolutely dreadful. Okay, so let's see. What have I missed? I haven't missed anything. Yeah, it's a big L sitting on this chair. There's no back support, but you kind of don't want a chair with a big back in the screen either, right? Maybe if I set this up and I was gonna do this more, I might get a different chair for this thing, something with a little bit of support, right? But for now, this is fine, right? I can live sitting on this thing for a bit, right? You need a posture ball. With the height of this table, that would be impossible. This table is, well, too high up for me to do that, right? Enjoy your lunch. Okay, so I think we have reached the end of our questions. And we should probably pack this all up and change the stream to what we used to have. Mole, the lawn. So should we do that then? Should we get this stuff moved around a little bit? All right, I will be back in a second, but I'm just swapping this around. All right, almost set up, although there is definitely something very crooked about this camera. So we'll see if maybe I can't get this set up the way it was again. Oh my. Okay. There is too many things here. Okay. That's not going to happen, is it? Oh, right. Okay, then. Oh, shit. Bad idea. Abort, abort. Ah. All right, I might have fixed this. We'll see. Cable, where are you? Oh, crap. All right, let's see if we can get our camera working here. Let's see if we can window up this thing. Well, that is very far to the side. That is very far to the side and out of focus, even better. Should we fix that maybe? Okay. Nope. Oh, rubbish. Okay, so we're a little bit off here, but it's a start. Well, I own a lot of photography equipment. I have been doing photography for many years before COVID thing. When COVID started, it was little to no interest in portrait photography on account of people not wanting to be around each other. So I started streaming instead because I had all the gear, right? All the gear, no idea. Okay, so what should we do with this then? Should we first maybe swap our streaming to be... we're gonna update our rusted TUI, and then we'll do more boring anathema, and then we're gonna change this to software and game dev. Done. And we have nothing going on there. Welcome, greetings, all new people on Discord. And I think we're good. I gotta set myself into streamer mode. Otherwise, you guys probably heard a bunch of Discord notifications during the stream there because I was not in streamer mode. So that's a bit of a mishap there. You think we should call resize for stream? Oh, that's a good point. There we go. And I guess we can start by playing the game doll that someone redeemed, that Bean Juice redeemed some hour ago. And this is what, farming sim? But my God, how many are there? Okay. Finally, there we go, right? Farming Sim 23, also known as C++ Simulator. All right, let's see. It's a little bit annoying because I normally don't have the camera there. I normally have the camera over there. So, yeah, there's this. Okay, I think we're good. So we can get the stream up here instead, the chat. No, Twitch. There you are. Probably don't need that 240%. Very good. And yeah, now this is going to be annoying. And now this is not attached to my desk. I wish I had like a fast clip release for the camera. Maybe I need to get another ball head for this thing so I can put it back on the desk. Okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna shop for some streaming gear. More streaming gear. I'm gonna shop for a new arm for my desk and some quick release clips for the camera because this is too stupid. If I raise the desk now, the camera's gonna go flying because it's just sort of sitting on the edge of the desk here. It's a very strange setup. And I do have some things for this, but you know. Okay, let me see what we got in terms of notifications. There we go, all dealt with. Right, so what did we do yesterday? We were busy. Oh yeah, I was working on the futures issue. There's 2 future issues outstanding. And I don't know why there's only 2. Let me see if we can take this away. That comes from the runtime. Try resolve future. Okay. Maybe here. Maybe this guy knows. Scope value, try to resolve value. No. I'm looking for the widget update that we send into the tree. Widget needs. Here, this is okay. So this is for applying futures. So this will have no impact on this. Okay, excellent. Or not. Is this needed? So where we left off yesterday is we had a could you just move the camera over there, couldn't I? Forget the camera. We have what did we have? I thought we had more issues here, but apparently not. Map future and list future. Maybe we need to get these working. So let's look at the future stuff. Let's expand these. Oh no. Expressions RS. The worst one. Okay, so both of these are expression RS 591. Oh, right. Okay, this one should probably return a future value. I would have thought. Okay, let's collapse these again. I am sitting like a bean. Future 105. No. Yeah, we don't need that one. Okay, so this one, this is where it's failing. And what does load number give us? It's an eval value. Okay, so let's print out what the index is. So we can at least see this. It's empty. Okay, so if this is empty, whoopsie. If this is empty, does it mean that this thing has already returned a possible future value from here? I would have thought so. Here it will return a future value. And same here. So I guess what we can say is if let eval value empty equals to our index, then return index. Okay, that worked. There you are. That worked. Okay, so widget test run. Wrong project. $130. Ah, right. Okay. This is basic frame. So there's a value that does not exist. So this should be state. Does not exist. If it's true, that state is true. Crud. Hang on, this is too simple to fix. One tick. One tickety tick. Is that really crooked now? Yeah, that's really wrong. All right, maybe we can push it down. Oh. Is that better? No, it isn't. All right. God. All right, we're going to reset the camera as well. Let's see. We'll do USB reset. And we're going to reset 4.5. No, we're not. That is the wrong camera. 6.4. Now we're stuck. Let's get that one going again. Do 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 do. There we are. And we can winnow this up. Do 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 do. Ah! Do 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 do. Okay, well, this was almost a fix, although it's not right either. Yes. There we go. Normal. Back to normal. All right. That wasn't too painful. But yes, so this is why I don't love doing the streamy poo on taking it down for the recording and then setting it up again, right? Anywho, let's get the music back on. And let's have a look. Test is true. Okay, so now we got a whole bunch of other failures. Now, where did these come from? Collection change. I see what these are. So we need to refer to this as state list. That's what we need to do. I think I want my bacon. Well, I guess we can just do this here. These are pretty good tests to have. All right, future values. Okay, if state value in state list for state value. Hey, look at that. We have green ticks all the way to Sunday. So then we can get rid of that one. Wait, was that also widgets? It was. There was no need for me to do all that silly business, right? All right, so this one is still broken. I press X, nothing happens. All right. So we're gonna fix this now somehow. State.map.lol. This thing should work. We can write a test for this in our Dyn test here, right? This is gonna be future map value. And let's just grab the same code from here. So no, that's the expected output, you lark. Well, actually no and yes. So this could be hello state.map.value. That is correct. That should just say hello. And now we need to do a different insert. Thank you all for the follows. Yeah, I don't ever do mocking in Rust when it comes to tests. I don't think it's necessary. So mocking is supposed to give you some kind of test type or whatever based on the trait. But I don't know. I never bother with it. So in this case, we're supposed to insert a value, but really we're gonna make sure that our state is what it is. So if we change this to a number, will this change our state here? It does, right? So here we should theoretically be able to insert a map at value. Now we don't say what kind of map this is, so let's do a string here. Is this a map? A value of a map? Yeah. My goodness, I don't remember what I've been using the laptop all morning. Really? Why can we not do this? Into value t. Okay, so that's because this thing creates a value of self. Well, that's unfortunate. That's the only way you can create these. Reinhard, how you doing? Welcome, Raiders. How's your stream? Ooh, okay, look at that. That's a problem. So it's going to be into value. Happy to hear that. So here we're going to have to do some work. Oh, nice. No game engine? Nah, that's nice. I've seen a few people now do game with that engine. I think that's pretty good. Personally, I like the idea of creating a game engine. Oh, sorry. But that's because a game engine is structured and organized, and a game is not. A game is messy. It's like applications, right? Building frameworks and libraries are often more appealing because they are a lot more... That was not the right light. They are a lot more... sort of... There's more order to it. It's more organization. Everything's more generic. And the moment you start building an application or something with it, it becomes messy. For better or for worse, right? Okay, so for some reason this doesn't work. We can't insert a value. Actually, that should be map, but all the same, we can't do that. Why does it say integer? Surely that has nothing to do with that. There we go. I think it's a cool idea. One of the first Rust programs I started working on or writing, the first time I really ran into lifetime issues with Rust was with SDL2 bindings. I don't know what Rust SDL2 looks like these days. Wow, 9 years ago. Is this the crate that I used? And is this... I remember there was like a lifetime very early on. This might not be it. Have we really had named... Yeah, named loops we had. It's named blocks that's new. I don't know, Caleb. That's what I wonder, if it was SDL or SDL2. I thought it was SDL2 I used, but again, this was many years ago, so it's hard to say. There's an SDL3? That's interesting. 97 versions. It could have been this as well, because this also fits with the timeline. What is the documentation looking like here? Thank you so much for that, Ferrado. Feel free to ask questions. Oh, I remember the event pump. Oh god, yes, this was it. This was it. And if we look at textures, they have some lifetime associated with them, right? But apparently I can't search. It's probably a lack of JavaScript here. Yes. Oh my god. This was probably 2016 I was tinkering with this. 8, 9 years old. Thank you for the raid though. Enjoy your food. Developing 2D games. Nice. Nice. Yeah, so you got SDL2 and Raylib as the alternatives there, I think. All right. Yeah, that was almost my first Rust thing as well. Cannot infer type for value. No, because this is already... Is it because it is a value? So if we try to pass in a value, it's going to freak out on us, all right? So a string will be fine. But a value string will not be fine. No. Okay. So this thing is not great then. I thought Into had a blanket implementation for self. I not. I thought Into was implemented for self. No, that's not right. It's from. So it should be from... Yeah, so this one doesn't actually do it for self. So it has to be from T4. Can we not see that anywhere in here? Exactly that, hybrid. That should be... Okay, let's just look for from T4. So why can we not pass in a value then? No, this is also wrong. No, it isn't. So v can become a value t. Still can't do that. I can do that. That's pretty dumb. All right, we'll just do value t then. This error comes from somewhere else. Yeah. This has too many implications. More breaking changes. Not if we can help it. But this is a little bit stupid. TCP Stream, thank you so much for the resub. Thank you kindly. I really appreciate that. There's no way this is gonna work. Why are you talking about multiple insert found? Dyneval 83. That's a value list of string. That ain't right. Is this somehow returning a list? No. So what's this tomfoolery then? That's a map of... Wait, where does the list thing come in? Huh? Where's the list? You know what? I don't even know, right? That should be a map of map. There has to be a value in this somewhere. Okay, that's better. So we're gonna get the state, get the underlying map of this thing, and then this is the map that we're gonna push the string into. There we go. Shit. Okay, that worked, but how? How did that work? And everything else works too. This is literally doing what I tried to do, but that means that I probably bungled my type. So somewhere in here, we have a map. Yeah, that is right. So the state has a map which contains U32s. And we're using this state. Yes, we are. Then why the flip does this not work? We're doing an insert here. Yep. I don't know. This is really confusing. It seemed to work according to this thing. Take the state out, and it doesn't work. So what does this do? It doesn't apply futures, then an update tree. Ooh, that hurts. No, because I had a breakpoint on it. Well, I didn't have a breakpoint on the other one, so we can check that, but I'm confident that is not the issue. Good thinking, though. So we update tree here. Let's make sure that this thing looks very much the same. State.map.lol. Now, if we do this insert at the creation, it should exist. Yep, there it is. Disappear, doesn't come back. All right, let's make sure that this thing happens in the right order as well. First time around, we're going to insert. Second time around, we're going to remove. And then we're going to insert. And we're going to remove. Yeah, this is very much working the way it's expected to. So what could be the issue here then? Yes, I reset up my normal setup again. That reminds me, I gotta turn the camera off. Hang on. Wee! Almost fell over. All right, something went flying in the background. Yeah, so we're gonna do a little bit of programming now. So my friend's coming over today. He's traveling here, and we're gonna do some recording. We had some ideas that we want to try out. But that's not what I was going to say. He texted me and asked if it's okay if he brings snacks to my kid. So he had like a bunch of sweets and he said, is it okay if I... And I really appreciate that people ask that. And I said, yeah, it's completely okay. But I really appreciate that people ask before they just dump a metric ton of snacks on someone's kid. That's really nice. Okay. So update 3. This is a normal update. This is what's going to happen in the runtime as well, I think. Fabio. The only thing people think of now when they heard Fabio is the was it a seagull that crashed into his face and broke his nose on a roller coaster? I mean, jeepers, but still. So we're calling try to resolve futures there. So apply futures, then update the tree. And surely we're doing apply futures first. Yeah, apply futures, apply changes. And this will update the tree. It could have been modprog. I haven't really sort of looked at it too closely, so it could be a bit out of focus. Stay away from goals, yeah. Hello, Cap, how's night doing? Well, I'm happy people like the format because it's a lot easier to continue with the setup rather than break it all down like I had to do now. But yeah. Oh no. And when you're on call as well, was that kind of expected? Is that a common thing or was it just very unfortunate that it ended up being like that for you? Okay, so draining the future values. We don't do any of that here, do we? No, we just apply futures. Oh no, we do. We set the scope. We set this capacity of the scope for some reason. No, unfortunately, oh, that man, that sucks. Very unlucky. So then we're going to create a new scope. Enjoy your zombie lurk. Hopefully you get some rest. Clear path, blah. We don't do that blah here. Clear insert state. Get the path. Clear. Get the path. We don't need to insert state because that's going to happen as we go through this. Try resolve future values. I don't get it. Okay. Drain futures. Create a new scope. Clear the scope for every one of these. Get the path. We don't need to insert the state because that happens as a result. And then try resolve future. Oh my god. Why is this working in the test? Then, huh? Why is this working in our test, but it's not working when we run it? I wish, but these tests are sadly not. So drain changes. We've already done that. The only thing we benefit from doing this is this. We don't create the scope unnecessarily. Put a panic in the test. Now that's some good thinking right there. That would certainly make it fail as well. No, I'm not seeing it. This will apply scoping as we go along. This will be in charge of scoping. Yes, it does. Yep. All right. I don't know how to solve this bug. This is a difficult one. We can step through this from the runtime. Okay, so now we should be able to evaluate this thing. Hello, Avenir. How you doing? There is no scoping there. Should scope insert the state for a component? It does. Oh, hang on. Why didn't it do that though? Well then, that seems to be a particular predicament. Okay, now it does. Now it doesn't do it again. Oh man, this is so weird. And now WTF, mate? Do we not even get here maybe? Okay, we should have a future value now. This can't be right. That can't be right, can it? Let's have a look at this thing. No, it is right. Damn it. How? How is this correct? And why would that be there? It seems to only have an impact on the children instead. This path, however, must be different. Yes, that is different. Okay, that's set to 1 at least, so that's something. Okay, so this is right. We're actually scoping now. Now we're scoping. Round we go. Try to resolve the value. What is the widget then? Oh, mittens. It's an element. Okay. So we do nothing here then. That makes sense. That's interesting. What is this value even? It's an empty value. Okay, what's the expression for this thing? Whoops. What? Oh, right, it's an option. Oh, pants. Okay. Well, I guess we can just do this. Okay, it's an index lookup. that we're evaluating. What's inside scopes now? Oh, darn it. There we go. Okay, we have a state ID of 0 in there. We have component attributes as well. Okay, so we got 2 of them in there. So this evaluation should work now. That's just going to be a subscriber. We're going to resolve this thing now. Okay, apparently not. You lock. Is this an empty value? No, it isn't. Okay, so this is a new value. And this is a new value. So technically, this value should just swap the inner value. But okay. I wonder if this is actually working then, and the issue is elsewhere. So we've now technically done what we're supposed to do. Maybe this is false. It is. Does this mean if we do something silly, like saying that? No, damn wishful thinking. But this is happening. So this should only happen if we manage to update the widget. So this thing should always be true. What? Okay. Why is this always false? This is very confusing. Why is this empty? Because we're saying that this thing should now apply. It should apply layout. Okay. Apply to this thing. There we go. Oh, fiddlesticks. There might be a bug in this code. Self is what? Paint. And what is new? Layout. Nope. Self should now be layout. Yeah, that definitely was. But this has not. This does not mean that we have dirty widgets, though. It should only do this on the update. Yeah, this is dumb. We're not going to do that. But even so... It's like apply changes doesn't apply. So is it never generating changes? Yes, on the remove it does. Nope, not anymore. Wow. What a bananas thing to do. I have not tried a send browser. I think I looked at it a little bit, and I was a little bit confused by what it was offering. It had something. I think it had like splits or whatever that looked interesting, but that was not enough for me to swap browsers. Since I can do that in my window manager. Now I'm stumped. I have no idea what is actually happening, why this is not working with the future values. We only seem to get changes when we remove, not when we add. And I don't understand why. What do you guys think? Do you guys want to solve this problem for me? Maybe we shouldn't do the way we are doing it with the future values, right? So when we resolve the future values, there was some point in here where right? Where we did a change here. I think this should not happen like this, maybe. This is an empty value, yes? And this is an empty value. But we just keep resetting. This is so dumb. I'd rather do this. Can we not dereference the inner value? Okay, you know what? That's fine. Be that. And now we can do south.inner. Really? What are you griping about, you fool? Okay. So we don't actually reply or update, we're gonna replace. This didn't fix the issue though, but I think it adds to this. So we can do an equality check here. So right now, the inner value is empty and that's empty. But these are just eval values. These are not the kind of values that are coming from the state. So where do they live? How does this work? Now, there is no equality between these. We can do this, though. That should hit it, and it does. And then it just stops working. Damn. Ah. Oh. There is something incredibly frustrating about this. I don't remember how it all hangs together. That's the problem. How did these two fit with the value type? Because we don't really want to modify the value. Well, that comes from the state. I think this one is a red herring. We're going to do this because I don't think that's going to go where I want it to go. But here we are causing this thing to subscribe to changes. So is this thing filling up the subscriber count? Wouldn't that be a nice problem to have as a streamer? But no, I think this one might do that. Maybe. Can we get the count here? We can. This should now output a whole bunch of stuff. It just stopped working. Why? At least it's not filling it up. Well, actually, that's dumb. It's futures that we're looking at. Yeah, we're not actually registering a subscriber with that. That was dumb. I was being a dummy. A big old dummy. Are you being a big old dummy? Do you got problems being a big old dummy? Then I'd recommend that you stop being a big old dummy. I seem to struggle with that, though. And then when we remove the value, it also stops outputting. So this, oh my God. I so need a break from this project. I don't even know if this makes sense anymore. I can't even... I sort of know how it hangs together. You register future values and then you try to resolve them the next frame until you manage to resolve them, or you just keep registering the future values, right? But it is so surreal. Sorry, I was looking at something else at the same time. It's so surreal. I honestly don't know why this thing isn't working. It seemed to be doing what it's supposed to do. We don't get any changes. It sure is bag. And more particularly, is this. Sounds like fun, Bulov. Well, aren't you lucky? All right, good on you, though. Okay, so this thing should... It hits now for some reason, but not on the first one. That's all right, back. If you have any questions, I'm happy to talk about Rust. This project is very involved at this point. There's way too much going on here. Almost 21,000 lines of confusing Rust. So this project is going to be difficult for anyone to get into. But yeah, for those of you who missed the first hour and a half of this stream, I quite enjoyed doing the format. So I might swap between these two stream formats going forward. Email client for Neovim, interesting. So do you do the IMAP thing in Neovim or what? I just haven't bothered setting up Neomoth again. I used to use that, but so this change is a removal. There is something about this value never existing. Okay, I think maybe what we can do is try to actually print out the value. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So here. I think I would like to know what the value is when we get here. So well, we know that the value is going to be empty until now. Now it's no longer empty. Now it's a value reference. And I would very much like to resolve this value reference. Now that is not what I want. Oh, hello. It's a string slice. Which makes sense because that's what we put in there, right? It's an either. Okay. This is our value. It's there. All right, let's rerun this. Nothing happens on the first one. Send a new one through. This one, we should resolve the value. So this value should be pointing to the actual map, right? If we look at the expression here. Hello, Anders. How you doing? Always ready for PHP. We had a very different format this morning for the stream. We had like I didn't even stream a software game. I was streaming just chatting this morning. It was quite fun because I had set everything up for video recording, so it was nice to do that for a bit. But yeah, now we're back into this nightmare again. Now we're back into this nightmare again. Okay, so what's the index? It's lol. Everyone wants to know about the lol index. And that is this. So at the left-hand side is state.map. Why in the world is that not reacting? 4 hours of pixelated stream? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if I can show my like previous stream. You can't hide the YouTube chat, can you? No, I guess that would have been useful. So if I did something like this, this is what we started with. We had this format, but that was pretty fun. That was pretty fun, and that would certainly hide any secrets. Let's go all the way forward. There we go. You're reviewing Haskell. I hope you're enjoying it. Otherwise, there'll be a massive pain. And then this value that we're getting now is a dyn val. Nope, pow. No up. Hello, Hardliner. How you doing? The format is irrelevant. Irrelevant. Really? I am, and I have an NVIDIA card in my other computer with multiple monitors. Oh, Wayland. Okay. Yeah, I haven't bothered with Wayland. So when's your first day, Hardliner? Nice. Next week on Wednesday, nice. I don't think that Katie is using Wayland by default, but I don't know. I'm educated enough to not open up people's pictures on stream anymore. Although that one was harmless, I think. Your review. Just merge it. I don't know what D3 is. I haven't seen him in a couple of days. Last I saw him, I suggested he start streaming because he would do really well, I think. I mean, he does stream, but he streams sort of harmless gaming, right? I think he could do a lot better streaming other kinds of content. And since I recommended that, I haven't seen him since then. Cancelled for showing GitHub. Wayland is the default for KD. Blah. In that case, yeah. Non-harmless gaming. Now, I think D3. My streams are super mild, right? They're like the middle of the road kind of thing you can get. There's no controversy or anything in these streams, right? The moment someone tries something like that, we just shut it down, right? But I think D3 would do really well because he says this. He's like no filter. He would just say these like random things that will trigger people. I think he would do really well. Maybe sometimes we've had some topics, but I think in general, if you look at a lot of like the gaming content out there now, for instance, that's all about the woke and anti-woke stuff, right? Personally, these are like things I don't even get involved in. I just roll my eyes until my head explodes. And then you got like the programming stuff, like that straw man inventing person at that kernel conference. I will not join your cult or whatever it was. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, man. But no, very little controversy and excitement here. I did try to use Emacs, and I just found the experience unpleasant. Gaming sector is always a mess, Rebel. Always has been. But one thing that I find pretty interesting is that there is no dependable game journalism anymore. There are no game journalists, right? You got large outlets like IGN and stuff, but they just give everything some kind of mid-score. And then you got all the content creators, but they get paid by companies like Ubisoft to go and play their games and talk it up. So it's like there's no dependable game journalism anymore. Game journalism died? I'd imagine so. Rust isn't as good as people say. Who says what? Stop ignoring me. Never. See, it's that Skylar. That's just an outright lie. I just did a shallow dive into Emacs, and it really is full of amazing features. It is full of amazing features, but you also have to develop some kind of claw hand to operate on it, right? Indeed, Skylar. So to me, that made Emacs entirely uninteresting, right? Because there's like the whole coding thing that you're supposed to press multiple keys to do things. I don't see why. I have better performance using Vim, right? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't really think it's Emacs is something I'm never gonna swap over to. But I didn't spend a lot of time with it, so it's not like I gave it a fair amount of time, right? Before I gave up on the Moonlander keyboard, I gave it 3 months, right? So that's a fair cut, right? For ditching it. But Emacs, that was like a day or two. We tried a little bit of that filthy language they use in there as well. But yeah, all right. Okay. Anyway, I'm getting sleepy and hungry for my third dinner, so we're gonna keep on moving here a little bit before I. Too late. You guys run the stream for a while. I'm just gonna rest my eyes. Meow. All right. So how does this work then? We end up with a value that is now a legit value. The question is, has this thing actually been subscribed to? It would seem so from here. That we will have gone through this. Okay, you know what? Maybe we do that then, right? So we plonk it on there, right? This is going to be the index. That's our left-hand side value. Now, we get the index, which is going to be our lol, right? And then we're going to call get on this thing. Oh, that was unexpected. Extra unexpected. No, shit. I went too fast. All right. Round again we go. But this time we can skip some of this. We can just hop right into here. Into here we go, right? So this should now give us the right value. Yes, yes it does. Okay, rerun this thing. Send the X, continue, here we are, blah, blah, blah. Value get. Okay, and then we do a state get here. And we pass in the sub to this thing. So that is correct. And then we're somewhere very grody. Okay, can you please get me out of here? Right, so we have the subscribe happening here. All right, then. So we create the value ref here now. We've gone through this. Okay, so this is where we can print things out to get a little bit more insight. All right, so we can't do that. All right, let's get the subscriber map. That is just wrong. Why would you go there? Come on, Rust Analyzer. Okay, so we're going to add a count function here. We already have that. Now this isn't quite right. Damn it, stop going to the wrong place. Oh no, it's not. Okay, I was going to the wrong place. Okay, that was 21, 22, and then nothing. Why are there 21 subscribers? That makes little to no sense. That's just bananas. And let's not forget that one subscriber contains multiple subscriptions as well. So a total would be map each value and sum that. Okay, subscribers, let's get this thing going right. All right, so we are gonna do this now. No, don't do that. Oh, wait, I am wrong in the head. We're looking for plural. Here we are. Is that like free shoulder press up? Is that what you're doing? 35 kilos? So does that mean that you shoulder press 70 kilos? Get the fuck out of here. That's crazy. Key index. Do you literally mean seated shoulder press at 40 kilos in each arm and you do 10 reps of that? How big are your freaking shoulders, man? That's insane. Yes, my child. There we go. Now we can count all of it, right? And then it's 1 instead of... What? Huh? How was this working? Now it's 21. But if we do the sum, it's 1. That makes sense that we would have empty ones. Hello, Grassam. How you doing? Okay, let's count empty ones as 1. Which you shouldn't, but we're gonna do it anyway. Yeah. Why do we have so many empty ones? Why are the 21 specifically? We only have one thing here. And now we get nothing. Well, that's because we create the values. Okay, the values exist. This makes sense, all right? If we have less values, if we do this, then this will change. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, nice one, Leet. Nice. So every value is going to create a subscriber, even if it contains nothing in there. And that's okay. I'm 2 years in, but I'm nowhere near doing 40 kilos. I don't even think I could lift that, right? No, I'm pretty confident I could never get a 40 kilo dumbbell up to this position, right? Let alone starting to do a press with it. For grip and forearm Gresham, you can try farmer's carry. I'm 73, so are you. Yeah, for grip and forearm, you can do farmer's carry. Which is basically just grabbing dumbbells and walking around with them. Don't have room in the gym for that. How small is your gym? It's not like you need... You can also just grab plates. If you want to do your finger grip, you can just grab a plate with your fingers, all right? And then walk across the room. Or do you have like a home gym kind of thing? There you go. Well, that's how you train your grip strength. Or start climbing. It's not so much about the weight of the plates as how far you can carry them as well. Because I can probably grip a 20 kilo plate, but I'm not gonna get far with it. Actually, I probably couldn't grip 20 kilos with my fingers. I don't know. Okay. So before we get into the world of fitness too much here, let's see if we can figure this out then. Hang on. Shit. What should I do about this? Nothing. All right, we'll just keep going for a bit at least. Okay, so this is now correct. And then we get 2 and it stops. That's because it stops doing something. No, I didn't start doing any kind of exercise until I got to be roughly the age I'm now. I was doing no exercise in my early. That's probably the one thing I wish I could have done. Gone back in time and told myself to work out more. Or let me rephrase that. Go back in time and tell myself to start working out, right? It doesn't have to be boring. And I don't find it boring these days. I did when I was younger. I was like, ugh, workout. What a nerd. But now it's fine. Why? Because the amount of effort you put into your early years, you're going to reap the benefit in your later years. Unless you do something dumb like go on gear for likes and subs, right? But if you're a normal functioning human being who don't intend to penalize your body, you want it to last way into your 80s, 90s, 100, right? Then start working out and yeah, work out. I mean, it's really good for your health. I mean, I'm not interested in some kind of beach body. It's never going to happen, but I definitely like the way it feels. Yeah, for every sub, I'll throw 5 cc of Tren into my diet, right? Tren bologna sandwiches, anyone? I want to reach strongman strength. It's so taxing on your body, though. Tren, or is short for trenbolone, and it's this incredibly dangerous steroids, right? That you take and then you cough up blood or your lung stops working and stuff. I think it was originally used on like horses and cows or whatever, right? I don't know. But yeah, it's one of those things that a lot of kids use today. If you go on social media and you look at like trend abuse, actually, I don't know if this is safe to open up there. Hang on. Let me open that on another screen. Yeah, I should probably not show this, but you get like insane acne on your back. You lose your, and this is not just trenbolone, right? There's a lot of these things, but you lose a lot of things in your body, and like you put your organs on under incredible stress. It was the other day I saw a bodybuilder passed away recently, age 36. So do you want to be 19, hop on gear, and then you can die when you're 26, 36? But at least you got some likes. They'll keep you comfortable in the grave, right? So steroids are legal in the UK, which is a little bit weird. You're not allowed to sell them, but it's not illegal to use them. People can be quite open about it as well. Well, your body's not supposed to undergo that amount of work. So you think about your heart, right? Your heart is a big muscle that's constantly working, and if you start adding, if you start enhancing or juicing, then your heart's gonna expand as well, right? Your heart's gonna grow. There's a lot of muscles in your body that's gonna be affected from all this as well, right? But it's what people do. It's what kids do because they want the likes. They go on social media. If you like look at social media fitness influencers, you're gonna see a bunch of people who have nothing to do with fitness, right? They want to sell you some supplement or tell you to eat some bullshit diet, but the reality of how they got to where they are is a lot of steroids and stuff, and they are probably gonna die quite young as well. Yeah, if your body gets too much, then and the worst part there, human, is that your body might not start the production again when you go off. So you might basically make yourself, well, no babies for you, right? Oh yeah, a bad diet, and this is coming from someone who used to eat out all the time when I worked in the city, right? You pop over to some rancid shop and get yourself some processed food, and that's your lunch, right? So yeah, changing your diet has, to me, having a healthy diet means a healthier mind, and I think that's just as important. Why is this not working? You get a big heart, yeah, but that's some medical condition, right? It's like it's and the fact that these things have a severe impact on your mental health as well. So like when you change your chemical balance in your body and all this stuff, I'm not a medical professional, by the way. When you change the medical with the chemical balance in your body, you start messing with these things. Chances are that you're gonna get into all kinds of states of depression and stuff, right? So even if you didn't have body dysmorphia when you started, you might end up with it, right? Well, there's also something you can do where your diet is effectively jumping between different. You can do the thing where you jump between low carb, high fat, and go back to high carb again. Right? You can do this alternating things. I've seen good results in some people with that. Then we have people like D3 who lived on bacon for, I don't know how long he said, if he said like a month or whatever, he just ate bacon, nothing else for like a month. Bacon is like insanely high in saturated fat, all right? I don't know, man. People are going to do what they do. Do you have that father strength? I don't know. Is that a religious question? Is that like a theological father, or is it like a dad strength, right? Okay. Holding up your kid 24/7. Now, thankfully, my kid is now so old, and so am I, that that's not feasible anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't get this. Yeah, I'm very much on like the main goal for me. First is stay safe and stay healthy. That's like the lowest layer of parenting, right? That's what all parents should do. Keep your kid safe, keep your kid healthy. And then you got like the layers on top of that, which is things like make sure your kid is happy and you know the well-being is good. And then layers on top of that, which is things like engage with your child so they don't spend all day staring at a screen and getting completely detached from reality, right? Where you only eat babies for a month. um, Now, being a parent is remarkable, right? There is a remarkable amount of nonsense you have to put up with. Okay, so doing this insert doesn't seem to it adds the change, but it doesn't cause the render. This is what baffles me. Why does it not cause a render? I don't get this. So that one, it's gonna keep doing this until we do an insert, and when I delete, it doesn't start it up again. I just get it, right? Who built this dumpster fire? Who should we blame for this? Oh my god, that dude. Ugh. I hear on his stream people are even talking about eating babies. Do not trust. We need to re-lay out before we paint, though. Are you stressed out because Caleb ate babies, or what? What are you stressed out about? You're too young to be stressed out. Go and just frolic in the meadows or whatever young people do. Do young people still go outside? That we didn't get there. What message? Nothing's wrong. I think probably the worst thing that's happened to humanity is Twitter and TikTok. All right. Good work, Rassam. You know what, Skylar? I actually thought it was me who wrote it. So I hope you didn't. I hope you didn't like take that personally, because that was a joke more than anything. Poor Skylar. All right. Okay. So resolving the future values. Blah blah blah. So even though we do this, it doesn't work. Right, we're definitely applying this to everything. I guess we could, but we technically need to know that this thing has happened, so we can say that there are. Well, we need changes to happen, right? Yeah, I would obviously not in earnest say who did this and assume it's anyone but myself, right? The blame culture and the bucket passing isn't really my forte. Well, Instagram is responsible for making people think they can live these imaginary Insta lives, right? So, peace out, I'm on my boat. It is full of dogs and cats and chickens, and we're living hashtag boat life, and it's wonderful. And then some idiot be like, all right, family, we're moving on to a boat now. And then the wife starts to sharpen a knife and the kids have already left, right? It just doesn't really hold water, all pun intended, right? Instagram is such a fake life. No one lives like that, right? So for instance, do you guys remember like the whole hashtag van life? Okay, let's see if we can find van life. Let's not look through my history, right? Okay, let's see if we can do hashtag van life in images and see what we get, right? Right. So look at this picture, okay? And I want you to imagine that you are here now. You're laying in this bed linen, assuming they're reasonably clean, right? You're lying here and you're looking at this thing, and you've done it now for 40 seconds and you're now satisfied with this view. Now reality starts to set in. What are you going to do for the next few hours? It's cramped. It smells funny. Where's the toilet? Oh my God. I cannot imagine a more boring existence than this, right? This is literally the pinnacle of boredom. I would be so creative if, I don't know what happens, so creative. I would become so creative if I existed in this setting for more than 10 minutes. right? This would be so insanely boring, okay? All right, you sit there with your cat and you wonder where you went wrong in life, okay? But that's okay. You have these battery-powered bullshit lights to keep you company, right? There's nothing here, right? It's just boredom. This has to be the most boring thing ever, okay? These people are so bored, they started to collect hats. That's how boring it is, okay? You got the toilet paper, but where are you gonna use it, okay? There's no. And he's laughing because he's thinking about how insane he's going. He's gonna push it out the back soon, right? So what do you like? Do you just open the door and then you let the world in? You just gotta lie there while strangers walk by and be like, "Hi, how you guys doing?" Right? This has to be the most boring existence in the world. I cannot imagine a more boring life and a more torturous life for children. Now look, they got like the big screen out. Very good. Sad when you run out of batteries though, right? And he's like, "Baby, I promise I will buy that house because this life sucks so much." And she's like, "I am headbutting you repeatedly because I hate this life so much. Why don't you make me some coffee?" All right. And this person's like, "I don't want to be here anymore." It's like a child. When a child gets bored, their legs start just flying against the wall. All right. This is the worst, right? Two kids in there as well. All right. They're smiling now. They're thinking about murder. This child is busy eating this child. All right. I could not imagine a more boring existence than van life, right? Make me Instagram. The reality of van life. This is probably a more accurate representation. Not this. All right? Not this. It's like, "Honey, I'm on Instagram. Why don't you take our rancid mutt out for a walk into the nothingness? Right? Don't worry about coming back." All right? Oh man, you know this is when they put the doormat down, right? Slippers, beard. I mean, come on, man. And this dude's just busy burning the evidence. What, did you unpack the entire world? This has to be the worst, okay? This is what Instagram is. It's like, yeah, look how cool we are. Look how much fun we have doing our van life thing, okay? I wonder how much time they actually spend and how much time they actually have doing fun. No wonder all the posts are really like nice and picturesque. You have all the time in the world to deal with this thing, right? Because it's so freaking boring. Why did you drive your whatever shit vehicle that is in here, right? It's like just for the picture, right? There's no way after this picture they're like, "Yeah, let's live in this flower field. That's great." That actually looks a bit cool, but again, you got nothing. You've made poor life choices. You have nothing, okay? Look how dark and miserable this is. But don't worry about it. You got a dog and a surfboard. Everything's fine. You probably read all these books as well, right? 50% of these books is like clean cold, right? There's no way this is how happy people live, right? It is not. Because there is nothing for you to do. Once you're done taking the picture out the back, all right, where you showed everyone how nice it is, then that's 5 minutes of your day. What are you going to do for the other 23 hours and 55 minutes? You probably won't sleep because there's nothing else to do. You're done sleeping. You slept for 2 lifetimes because that's all you could do in the beginning because it was so boring. All right. Goodness me. I could not imagine a worse life than that. They dumped my grandparents' living room in front of the van. You think images of this on Instagram is bad? YouTube has a massive following of vloggers and YouTubers who live in a van. Yeah, They do, right? And that's why they have time to make all that content, because they don't do anything, right? Their lives are literally just making videos of them living in a van. So you spend 2-3 hours filming, 4-5 hours editing, and then you're on to your next adventure, right? I think you get so bored that you read just about anything. Have you guys ever been that bored? Like a time before mobile internet was as good as it is today, right? And you had nothing to do, so you just read whatever you get your hands on, right? Then you go to local Planet Fitness to take your first shower of the week. Feeding bears would be a time. Yes, that could be a thing. Um, no, it's just too insane, right? The whole van life thing is just too insane. And then you go back to your cozy house, because I bet none of these people would actually live in a van. Yeah, I think the longest I could live in a van like that is probably 5 minutes. And then I would explain to the people with me how we have made poor life choices and we need to return to civilization, right? Something as simple as bathrooms and showers and all that stuff, right? Sure, there are campsites, but is that what you're doing then? Because none of these hashtag van lives seem to be taken on any public campsites. Now, Instagram shows us this picturesque, ridiculous life that we do not live, right? The people on Instagram don't live these lives either, right? I think it's just it's fine to go and stand on top of a mountain and take your picture of do your selfie in like an like upward down position so you look your finest, and do a yoga pose or whatever, and then promote some kind of backpack that shit. It's fine to do that, but people have to understand, if they want to, that this is not the lives people live. But why I think TikTok is so bad is because people say so many dumb things on TikTok. I forbid my kid to even watch TikTok, right? There is no way that's gonna be okay in this house. TikTok is the dumbest thing ever. It's just so many incredibly dumb and fake things on there, and people. I keep saying this as well, right? That when, like, every time we start talking about diets and steroids or whatever, right? I say, look, I'm not a trained medical professional, right? There are these assholes on TikTok that they won't say that. Instead, they will share their life hacks or life advice. Like, if you take a kiwi, you cut it in half, and you rub it in your face, then you look like an idiot. Life hack, right? There's like and like, oh, if you eat 500 apples, you become a unicorn. And then other people go, really? It's an internet, so it has to be true. And then they eat all the apples, right? Oh God. But the thing is, that is not just TikTok to play. Do you guys remember planking? And I'm not talking about the workout. I'm talking about the thing that kids were doing on top of trains and shit, and then they died. Do you guys remember Tide Pods eating fucking detergent as if that was a good idea? But let's see if we can eat this detergent. Oh, you died. Well, I'm sorry, but maybe you shouldn't eat detergent, right? So doing dumb shit has been a thing for a very long time, but TikTok definitely is another medium to spread this stuff. 100%, right? I can't believe I said 100%. 100%. It is so dumb, some of this stuff. It's incredibly insane. And the fact is that a lot of these things are just outright dangerous. They're misinformation, and there is no accountability for that. There is zero accountability on when it comes to misinformation on TikTok. All right. If you put comments to your code, it'll be more understandable. That's a fabrication, Juvas. That's something that Microsoft wants you to do, so you use the comment features of Visual Studio, so you pay for a license. Clearly, you're a Microsoft shill. Get out of here, okay? I jest, of course. But I shouldn't have to say that. That should be implied. But people who are on TikTok giving you IDs on like... What was that really stupid things? Like hydrated water? Was that a thing? Apparently I've read this before, right? But there was like a okay, we're not even gonna touch on this idiot thing, right? Drinking water is not the best way to stay hydrated. I can't even, right? But there was something like hydrogen water or whatever, right? And I'm like, what? That doesn't work. Oh, anyway, the dumb stuff people do. Stop eating protein. Yes. All right. Don't eat carbs, fat, calories, or protein, right? These people who eat all of these things inevitably die. So conclusion, don't eat these things, okay? If you happen to die early on, that's because you're doing something wrong. You probably don't have enough healing crystals in your socks. Don't eat the yellow snow. Watch out where the huskies go. Don't you eat that yellow snow. Okay, so my kid is planning some kind of crafting event. So I'm going to have to go and deal with that now shortly. Never leave home without healing crystals inside. No, that's right. If you leave home without healing crystals, who knows what could happen. Okay, should we raid Hedging maybe? We haven't raided them in forever. They are not doing Rust. What are they doing now? They're doing Godot. You know what? I do like Godot, so we're gonna raid them. Okay, what a boring stream this was, but that's okay. I am going to be back next week because now I'm gonna record a bunch of YouTube nonsense, and we'll see if anything comes out of this or not, right? But as per usual, you guys have been good. I hope to see you for my next stream. Bye for now.